Losing in life is so important. Whether it's getting dumped or getting fired, losing a game, those feelings where things didn't go your way. That's important. If you are anything like me and how I was about 2 years ago, losing halts your progress and you start to overthink. Ponder on what could have been. But it wasn't until I learned these 4 things that I am going to share with you today that my luck started to change. So let's start right now with lesson number 1. Lesson 1, the monk mode myth. So let's be honest, it's probably not the first time that you have watched a video on self-development this year, right? You have probably come across the term monk mode before. But what is monk mode? Well, the origin of the word, according to Wikipedia, showcases that it is a religious way of life in which one renounces worldly pursuits to devote oneself fully to spiritual work. Nowadays, this has been adapted to a modern meaning of a period of dedicated time to a specific task or goal. It is often my interpretation whenever I read or watch other videos online about this. The idea is to sacrifice everything else but that goal. So that could be time with family and friends, spending time on leisure, or just relaxing. In theory, this may sound like decent advice, right? But we are social animals. Social animals that feed off interacting with other human beings. If this part of you is cut off, then you are depriving a deep-rooted part of yourself as a human. Along with this, I don't believe it is a sustainable practice, especially if you start by going for full cold turkey with it. What happens to your other priorities? Especially if you have children, a spouse, pets. You know, real-life commitments and scenarios. Now, it's not to say this doesn't work. It obviously does, as the term wouldn't be that popular. Instead of monk mode, which is now like a buzzword in the world of self-development, seek to develop a habit of periods of deep focus. This provides time for you to work on the goals most important to you. A quote that I like is, "Successful people tend not to have heroic willpower, but structure their lives in a way that tends not to need heroic willpower." If you are constantly relying on willpower or surges of motivation, this is less likely to be sustainable in the long run. What does this deep work look like for you? Maybe you only start with 10 minutes or 25 minutes of deep work. Then scale up from there. The key is to start. Lesson 2. We are choosing at every life moment. We are our choices. Jean-Paul Sartre. If you are in the dumps or miserable about a scenario, it's most likely because you feel like some part of it is outside of your control. That's a problem you have no ability to solve. A problem that was somehow thrust upon you without your choosing. This is in part true, as we don't always control what happens in our lives, but we always control how we interpret what happens to us, as well as our responses. It's time to take responsibility. Responsibility of all the deep and cascading choices that led us to where we are today. Even if we believe that these scenarios are out of our hands, the more we choose to accept responsibility for life scenarios, the more power we wield over our own lives. Accepting responsibility for our problems is thus the first step to solving them. You might be stuck in your ways. I get it. You might even be thinking, how? How do I accept responsibility? And to answer that, there is no how. You are already deciding. Already choosing what you care about and what to take responsibility for. Just simply take care and responsibility for better stuff. It's simple, but not easy. Lesson 3. Not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Life is essentially an endless series of problems. The solution to one problem is merely the creation of the next one. This is not to sound pessimistic. Solving problems can bring a great source of joy in our lives. Our values determine the nature of our problems, and the nature of our problems determines the quality of our lives. As happiness tends to require struggles. It grows from problems. Joy doesn't just sprout out of the ground like daisies and rainbows. When I reflect on my own life, I want the adulation, the reward, and the success without the struggle. I wanted the result and not the process. However, for the most part, you are defined by what you were willing to struggle for. The answer unfolded from the acceptance and active engagement of the negative experience. The truth is, sometimes life sucks, and the healthiest thing you can do is admit it. Denying negative emotions can lead to experiencing deeper and more prolonged negative emotions and to emotional dysfunction. There is an underlying message to our lessons so far. That is to build the value of resilience. Whether that is through adopting moments of deep focus or accepting responsibility. However, this journey is not easy, as we discussed. There are enemies which try to disrupt our path. Lesson 4. The enemies of mental toughness. As we head down this path, there are a lot of enemies that we meet. A lot of internal enemies that come in the form of self-pity or the inner critic. This drains the energy needed for perseverance. Along with self-pity, self-doubt breeds inaction and distracts from boosting resilience. Battling these enemies requires introspection, patience, and the steady application of new strategies. But the payoff comes in developing priceless mental muscle. So let's explore examples to illustrate how these enemies operate. The inner critic of an aspiring athlete might attack her abilities, undercutting her motivation to practice and improve. This lack of practice makes it harder to master the sport she loves, and instead of being resilient in the face of difficulty, she stops playing. Now, there may be deeper questions as to why you feel inadequate or have these feelings of inferiority, which is beyond the remit of this video, and you should probably seek professional advice. However, we're going to leave you one bonus lesson for making the greatest comeback of your life. This is to trust the process. Lesson 5. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Alan Watts. So as you navigate through the world today, remember and take these lessons with you. Rewatch the video if you need to. It won't be easy, but it starts today. Did you like this video? Well, click here to learn more on improving your life with this short video we created on Stoic tips for a better life. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.